I think we're the last sport to start. So we've been going for a long time since August. So it's time to play ball. I'm excited to get this season started with our players, coaches, fans, the whole 9 yards. So Coach Prothrow, Eastern Kentucky, been preparing for them this week and thinking about those guys coming down. But looking forward to getting to host them, but get our season started with a great 3-game series at home.
Adam?
Butch, Carson Myers on the back end of this rotation you guys announced yesterday. Just what have you seen out of him that makes you guys want to put him at the end of that rotation to start this weekend?
Simple. Energy. He's had good tempo. We've, right or wrong, probably wrong, I don't even have to temper him. He's had good emotion going, but you know what it does is it gets guys behind him on the play, the center fielder, the infielders, catcher, catching. He's kind of earned that right of that energy guy. And I always think about game 3 after you've played 2 games and you're coming out for a 3rd game. I always thought Sundays or game 3s were about toughness and trying to keep your mind going into a 3rd day, and you kind of want somebody to bring that energy that's fresh. And I think he did a good job of that, and I think that's the primary reason why we put him in game 3, and he earned it. And he was kind of competing with Herberholtz, I think, is part of mentioning that. So the only reliever that we're stamping on today is Herberholtz. So he'll probably be right behind him, and because we believe in Christian, so we're keeping him on a routine, keeping him on the same day with Myers, and they could piggyback and switch out for a few weeks too if you wanted to. So, but Myers had that energy and kind of captured everybody's thoughts on somebody that would give us a good spark in the game 3 after you've played 2 games. And but Herberholtz is going to keep developing. We know he's a good starter, and he started for us before. And so we'll piggyback those 2 guys. Hopefully a combination of those 2 will put us in good shape. Maybe if you've used some pin the first 2 days. So you almost have 2 starters that are scheduled to be slated there for Sunday, but Myers will definitely get the first opportunity to throw the first inning.
Jason?
Butch, last year you kind of had those situations that were kind of set up with Tanner going behind certain guys. How much of this early season is figuring out maybe those first couple of days and who fits with who and maybe how those things are going to work?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge when you say you have a new pitching coach, right? Whether it's Tim Hudson or Steve Smith or Darren Schoenrock or now Everett Tiefert, is getting just that rhythm of how you work together. And the 80% of the innings returning, we talked about, like, man, that we probably have more depth, we have more pieces, and sometimes that can become confusing if you don't have a good plan. So who can really pitch off one another? Who's the best after awesome stuff if it's set? What's the best to come behind him? And same thing with Joseph. You got the sinker baller, and then Myers a lefty. What plays the best? What are the best combinations? Not just the best pitchers, but who plays best off of one another? Do we have that figured out? We'll definitely go out with a plan to start this season, this weekend. But yeah, I think you'll see some changes there. The confusing piece that I mentioned is because, man, you got what I love is you have a Tanner Bauman that's low slot left. You got a Armstrong that's low slot righty that have pitched before. Bauman in his 2nd year, so trustworthy of a player and a person. Armstrong has pitched for us a ton. And then you got some power righties. I can't wait to see Cannon back in that spot. And also Cam Tilley. So you feel like you got 4 guys, and then you got the long guys like a Crotchfeld that had started this time last year, is a lefty out of the pen. So all these pieces plus many more, I think we'll get to see them. Our health has been great. I give Tiefert some credit for that. He's got to figure out some strategies. Instead of leading 100 minor leaguers through every level, he's got to get into the minutia of one team, one pitching staff, and how can I coach a pitching staff to be competitive and get the result that you want at the end of the game. So he's done a great job with our health. So everybody's ready. It gives us a lot of options, but now I'm like, how do we look at it? What options are we going to use this first weekend? That was some of our conversation today, because ultimately we'll have to see, like, what I'm still waiting to see, can this rotation, whether it's the 4 guys that we mentioned, or can they be competitive against what you would think is the top third of our league? Can that be a rotation that matches one of our best pitching staffs in our league? And we'll probably have to wait a little bit, but this will give us a glimpse if we feel like we're front end and pitch up front to match our league. But I do feel good about our depth. I think I'm real interested in who we bring in when and how we use people this first weekend.
Matt?
I guess on that health point, You mentioned Joseph just a bit there. He's in that Saturday slot. I guess where do you feel like he's at, kind of entering the first weekend of the season? Maybe what do you want to see from him in his first start back?
Yeah, Joseph will be great. So health is number one. I just want to see him throw healthy innings. Number two, it has been since opening day last year since he's pitched a real game. You can simulate, you can play outside competition, you can squad till the cows come home. I still think there's different when there's a real game and a real uniform play. It's gotten better each of his outings this preseason, I guess, but I don't think he's mid-season form. I don't think the sinker's quite where we want it to be, set, being able to move the ball to both halves of the plate. He's got a four-seamer that's been going pretty good. The slider, I still don't think it's down out of the hand or as sharp or following a path when stuff's really set. So some patience, probably, what I would temper our fans and people watching that's not with us every day is I think he'll keep getting better. Joseph is a diesel engine. Joseph's a guy that you might not get the full output, but you can get later in the game and get more velo and more things out of him. So I think we'll see that in our start. Like, I think he'll be good in a month. I hope he's good Saturday, but he's worth the risk and investment because we know what he can be. And I think our best team has him being a part of our rotation and right in the middle of it. But I do not think he's in mid-season form, just to give a disclaimer. But I think he's healthy, he's got a great look in his eyes, body's changed, in the best shape. He turned down an opportunity to go to pro ball, so I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's really wanting to get back on the mound. But I think he's got to pitch some and lay some tracks in real competition before he can get as sharp as he was before. So I think he's got a little work to do there. And hopefully he's ahead of my estimation going into Saturday. But I do want to give that disclaimer because I feel like it's going to take him a couple of games to get back to where he was at. And then I think he's been so resilient and healthy with his sides that I think there's another gear that we haven't seen out of him. But I think that'll be a little bit more down the road.
Pass it over to
Butch,
Brian.
just how's your infield looking? Who do you sort of project as the starters going into the weekend, and will you rotate any guys in?
Yeah, I think we're still going to want to see a lot of guys. It's deep enough to where we feel like, once we roll starting lineup out there tomorrow, there's still more pieces that we want to see. McMurray looks like he's ready to go. We'll try to start him all 3 games at first base, I think, this weekend. If not, then, he's still coming off of a procedure from the fall, but we've been kind of protecting him, and we think he's ready to go out and do his job. Second base, you got a Hernandez, a Caden Green. You really just, the other 3 spots, you just need to talk about a ton of people. It seems like Weiss has probably got the lead to where I've seen Gabe and Carl kind of set Weiss more consistently every day at shortstop. So I think he's ready to play that position. Really second and third, I would be looking for a Caden Green, the one returner, really, in those 3 spots. Javon Hernandez has played a line share of second base, and Derek Fabian's played a lot of third base. Of course, you got a Gavin Miller, a Caleb Freeman there, but I think there's a little rotation, maybe this opening weekend, if everybody's ready to go, of McMurray at first, Hernandez at second, Weiss at short, Fabian at third, and Caden Green kind of moving around those 3 spots as well for this first weekend. If we go deeper than that, then somebody got banged up, even though we're going to want to look at more pieces. We're seeing a left-handed starting pitching the first 2 games, so you're thinking probably a little bit more out the gate of right-handed DHs. We're going to see guys that may not blow the ball by us left-handed, but it's going to force us to have real mature bats early, because I think we're going to see north of 50%. We're going to see a majority off speed. And it might be overhand breaking ball, it might be lower slot sliders, so we have to stay in our posture, we'll have to evaluate and see pitches. I think that's the challenge that these 2 starters for Eastern Kentucky will present for us. So probably right-handed DH, and it might be a different DH every day. That's how many guys we want to get in there. So Freeman, Miller, if they start the righty on Sunday, then Christian Hall has gotten a lot of at-bats and had good at-bats. could be a DH candidate there. I think you know what you're gonna get in the outfield, when you start going Pierce and Stanfield and Mainers. Then we got those two young freshmen that, you know, how can you get them developing and get them in the game? Talking about Cade Ballou and a Cole Edwards type deal. And then probably the elephant in the room for me is can Ike Irish be a frontline catcher in the games? He's grown so much, he's developed so much that we have some believability there. So seeing Ike back there getting us started is something I'm really interested in, being a pitching guy and feeling like he's one of our top one or two best hitters in the organization. Can he hold up back there? Can he serve a pitcher, still get his hits, and do it now that we're at a real season?
Jason.
But you mentioned Mainers. What have you seen out of him since he came in and as a guy that potentially is batting up there in the top of the lineup?
Yeah, he just feels like a two-hole, a left-handed hitter that makes you feel like if, you know, if there's a runner at first and you need a ground ball to the right side, that he can hook it and do that. A guy that has some sneaky power, the ball can jump out of the ballpark, and between him and Weiss, I go back and forth on who I think is the best runner on the ball club. So I think when you think two-hole traditionally, the thing that really stimulates my mind, or anybody just thinking a simple game, is somebody can handle it bad. If it's left on left and he gets a real slider and they try to shift any, he absolutely can lay a bunt down and he can do a push or a drag. A guy that has experience. I mean, he may have more bats than anybody in our organization. So I've loved the experience that he's done for us, and I think he adds a level where he can really handle the bat regardless of the situation. He can do multiple things offensively, and I think we'll start him in the two-hole unless Gabe wakes up with amnesia tomorrow. I think he's a perfect fit to really see if he can hold down that two spot for us.
Right. Yes. After this, we're heading over to look at the new Hall of Fame clubs with the new renovations. I guess obviously the renovations are still kind of ongoing. There's a lot of work to do, but how have you seen the park change, and kind of what have you thought about some of the ongoing process so far?
Yeah, the Hall of Fame club, just what it does for me, it's not complete. I mean, Donahue's affected, it will be for this whole year. It's still 2 lane, but it's tight. That club level will be going up all year. As soon as the season finishes, we'll be getting above the monster. There's locker room, there's coaches stuff, weight room. Our weight room and our offices are together right now. It's crazy, but we're closer to our players, so there's a positive there. This Hall of Fame club that you guys are about to go tour is out of sight, and I think I've been to a lot of venues now, being in this league for going on 3 decades. It's awesome, but it's just an appetizer of what we're doing and where we're headed. The majority of what we're trying to do and what we're going to do that's already started will not be complete really until next year. But this Hall of Fame club, for, you know, with it not being sold out for the whole season, it's going single game. If you love our program and you're interested in the future of this program from a premium seating, you've got to come and take in this Hall of Fame club a game. I think just walking in there, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, it's so positive that it's just an appetizer. And I wish we could get more. We're doing some stuff for our students in right center field, so we got them. I brought the wall back in, or I did. These awesome people closed the wall back up, but we've elevated our students in 2 rows. We got them close to the visitors' bullpen, like it's everywhere else in our league. So we continue to tip our hat and let our students know how powerful they are. I think we can see how powerful they are for basketball and football and a lot of our other sports. So we've continued to respect them for coming along with us these last few years. So those are the 2 appetizers, but the best is yet to come.
Brian.
Yeah, you mentioned Caleb Freeman as a possible DH, not a guy I've heard a whole lot of. What does he sort of bring to the table, and how's he sort of fit in his first season?
Threatening. He's a threatening at bat, and you know, he's a switch hitter, has some power. They played in the World Series last year. Him and Connor McBride, which will probably be our Tuesday starter, both come from St. John's River down in Florida. Still working defensively. He's worked a lot at first base in this preseason. Third base, come to us as a third baseman. He's continued to work on his craft defensively. But what I could say where he could add value right now, who knows in 2 months, because don't ever forget, players are allowed to get better. So you never know where somebody's going to be if they stay in the fight and keep working. But what we think he could do, like right now, is potentially come in there and have 4 at-bats on Saturday and do damage. with his bat. So I think that's what we're looking at right now, and hopefully he just keeps growing and becoming more well-rounded, more consistent as a defender, and that could just open up possibilities for him as we move into the season. But we're trying to find some at-bats for his bat. We think he's a threat at the plate. Coach Tiefert, as a pitching coach, our pitchers, they're just like, man, if you make a mistake with him, because most home runs, most extra base hits are thrown, that he has a chance to have a bat that can do some damage.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to ask about Chase Alsop getting the Friday start. Have you seen him progress much or a lot or a little from last season?
Yeah, I just think he's more efficient. And I really think at the end of the year, he really started finding himself. So for the first year as a freshman, kind of that normal trajectory, strong, big arm, and just on a learning curve, adjusting to the SEC. I thought the second half last year, he gave us some good quality starts. The biggest challenge to me, if I was sitting in a room with him and having that one-on-one meeting, is efficiency, just like Tanner Burns, just like Mason Barnett. He's in the line of that type guy. And I think his efficiency is what earned him this first spot. So we didn't give him this. He absolutely became more efficient in his innings pitched, and I really wanted to carry into the season. Because him with efficiency and not being behind in the count, and I would say the pitch that I've seen the most that's landing now is that fastball to his glove side, away from a righty, into a lefty. And when a pitcher can locate a fastball to his glove side, that just syncs up, times up a delivery. Those are telling you good things. Pitchers take off when they command the ball, have authority over it, especially to their glove side. And he's starting to show that. And with some efficiency, like he's showing, he absolutely vaulted to, like, we need to give him a shot to throw opening day.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Coach.